Yeah. Right. Okay. As you should be able to see, it's recording.
It is. Hello, 1 2
I
1
look
2.
a mess, but my hair is getting long. Do you know what? I've decided I'm going to grow my hair long now.
Yeah,
It's
man.
probably the last time in my life I'm going to have hair, so I'm going to goddamn well grow it. So anyway,
Oh,
shall we do it as they do it in Wayne's World? Yeah.
What's
You
that?
know what-
Doodle-doo,
No. Go
Oh.
and 5.
Oh, right, that one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another E5 podcast. I am your host, Paul Meenan, and with me, I have the usual suspects. Introduce yourself.
Hey, go for it.
My name's Mike, also known as Residual Current on social media.
Yes. Hi, guys. It's David Watts, Sparky Ninja here as well.
So, in BSEN standard terms, I am a BSEN 60898. We have BS 4293 and BS 61008 or BS 61009.
Hang on.
You're the newer model.
I'm 4293. I'm the older fucker, am I?
Yes.
Oh, bloody hell.
You got that. You see that electrical joke there? He's the older model, you're the newer model. God, you can tell what podcast this is when we're making electrical jokes that are about British standards. Well, you sad gits that you are.
I'm crying inside for myself.
So, Mike, welcome back. Third time in. We just love having you, to be honest with you. The last one melted my brain. You changed our Instagram account for the better.
Actually, I have had some good results from that. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's good.
I've not been doing it as much as I should though. But...
What, like naked pictures sent to you, or
not nudie pictures, but just it's just a bit more. I had a little experiment with the hashtags and things, and I've had do you know what posts that I make have just had the responses and engagement has just carried on for longer, so they've obviously existed or been active a bit longer.
So I downloaded the Hish Hash app, and I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling to work it. I'm like, how does this work? Oh, okay. I tried it, and it just doesn't want me using it. It's like, you're over 40, go away. It is what it is. So, Mike, you gave some great tips on Instagram. It did work, without a doubt. I genuinely think it did, because our Instagram account, we started it in September, and it did something because there are more and more people following it. But hopefully on our Instagram account, you'll see really unique stuff you don't see anywhere else. Even if it's snapshots of documents and information and things to tingle the brain cells. It's not just about crappy electrics. It's stuff to stimulate a debate, a conversation. We do get a lot of messages, actually, on the Instagram questions. Where did you get that? How does this happen? Are you doing a podcast on this? So some of it's teasing, but some of it is also to complement these podcasts as well. So if you're listening to some, the pictures or the visuals will be in the in our Instagram feed. Anyway, so Mike, you're 20. Mind-blowingly, you're 24.
23.
23.
See, I'm already ages. 23. Right. So we were going to, in our last podcast, ask you for advice to youngsters. This is a weird podcast we're recording at the moment, because obviously we're all in lockdown because of the horrendous coronavirus. But let's pretend for this part of the podcast that we're not in lockdown. I want to ask you, and even Dave chip in, what advice you'd have to youngsters getting in to the industry, because we do get a fair few messages from people, and we always try and wish them the best and say, it's different routes. What's your advice to people trying to get in this industry and career?
The best thing I could say to someone, and I wish it was conveyed to me more, is be really keen, be punctual, make sure you want to do it. And be patient as well, because you got 3 years before you're even at that level where you can start understanding fully everything that's going on and what you're doing, and then progressing yourself as well and making what you want to of the electrical industry. But just be keen and hungry and patient as well, I'd say.
No, that's pretty good advice. Dave,
Yo,
if we were advising youngsters, people trying to join the industry. I'm being ageist again, aren't I, using the term youngsters? But let's just pretend a lot of the people in the industry are young, and they want advice on the qualification path to take to get them to that title of electrician.
Well, you've already just ruined the conversation there by suggesting that that's easy to explain. The qualification path to enter the industry is an absolute minefield of nonsense.
So fractured.
There's so many qualifications.
I like the way you say that. A minefield of nonsense.
It all depends on what you feel like doing, what you don't feel like doing, but then what the college feels like delivering for you, what they feel like putting together for you as well. And then they'll incentivize you by saying you want to do this when you may not want to do that. So here's the problem. It's not good enough. It's old courses, old hat, old nonsense. We've talked about the electrical apprenticeships needing to evolve and upgrade. We need to have apprenticeships structured with the end goal at the beginning. You know, smart technologies, new innovations, things like electric vehicles, things like even the really cool technical stuff, like, you know, stage lighting and events and all the little things that you can go off. And that needs to come to the very beginning, not let's spend ages talking about AC theory and DC motors and brushless and squirrel cages. The stuff that cannot, without doing any of that, any disrespect, isn't very exciting.
Well, I have to say, I do agree with you, because I think in my entire career worked on 5 motors. All of them used a variable speed drive. All of them were wider than, they were massive. They were huge. They were monstrous motors, you know, hundreds of kilowatts. These things were massive. I'd never saw the point of it in college, to be honest with you. It didn't enhance my confidence levels while learning on that journey. For me, I think a modern electrician, if we can even use that title anymore, I would suggest maybe the modern competence needed, I think, starts off with confidence and ability to do the task, without a doubt. But I think anyone training should first look to understand the fundamental principles, not just the wiring regs, but fundamental principles of how to select and erect a wiring system, a power distribution system, protection systems from over voltage, under voltage, control, switching, all those basic things that would form a domestic or a small commercial industrial installation, and obviously all the basic bits. Then I think they should then go into their specialism, whether it's theatre lighting, smart homes, temporary distribution, generator systems, and the only person who can really tell them about their own competence, I hate to say it, is them. Well, the thing is your confidence levels, isn't it?
Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to make them want to get to the end of the goal. So we need to show them people at work. It's like, I know the IIT have these little case studies, these little videos of all these people in very, very, very specific technical areas, which isn't the typical outputs of a standard apprenticeship. Even people.
I'm in one of them.
Yeah,
I'm in one of them. Don't get shown much, but I'm in one of them.
But we want to show these people, okay, an apprenticeship is a route to many further options. Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, none of this stuff is done in 3 years. It's done in 3 years plus X amount of years, wherever you want to go. But the world is your oyster at that point. We need to show them that at the beginning, so they can be inspired to go to that. We need to make it exciting, and at the same time, we need to start taking some of this further back into the schools, so they're already thinking about this at the end of their school life, instead of getting to that point where they've got GCSEs and then they're being told, you don't want to go to uni, or you should go to uni, or you should go to college, or you should do an apprenticeship, but they don't actually have any idea on vocations. The vocations should be introduced to them at an earlier stage.
I also think one of the things that they should have more what I would consider stark reality given to them. They should be given more practical chances to do more practical experience and have honest and open feedback, even if that is negative. But once they get to that initial milestone of finishing their underpinning training, they should be massively congratulated. Anyone who gets out of college should be massively congratulated and a huge pat on the back for them. But they should leave that college going, great, that's that first part of the journey completed. Now begins the next stage.
That's and it's step like, one.
Yeah, it's like America, innit? They have that journeyman electrician, don't they? And you've got to do X amount of years you can go from like apprentice into electrician and then journeyman. And I think it's like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Before you're allowed, you can call yourself a master electrician, which is fantastic.
unfortunately, the training world sees itself as the journey, and they've introduced this new term now, the endpoint assessment with the endpoint assessor, and they're still calling it the endpoint. So for the person on the journey, they think at the end of their 3-year journey, it's all being called the endpoint, and they're not really being showing anything else. It's very bad
Once again, it's an horrendous use of terminology in the electrical industry. You're right, endpoint assessment, ball, because there's loads of things that I'm not competent in, and if I had an endpoint assessment in, I would fail.
I don't think there is an endpoint.
No, exactly. Not if you want to do something exciting next week that you haven't done before. You've always got to learn. You've always got to move.
And that's the thing. The people that find the industry exciting, and some people don't, a lot of people do, because what you can achieve. Those who do find it exciting will always agree on one phrase: every day's a school day in our industry. And it really is. And if it isn't, you have to wonder what you're doing. And I know people, and I'll be honest about it, I know guys who do like maintenance and they get really bored very easily, but they miss one part of the vital equation that can make it still exciting. Their own motivation to continue to learn and understand the stuff they're supposed to be maintaining. I've got guys who are now maintaining new smart technology, so they've had to go through training. My God, it's dusted off the brain cells like mad. You can see their eyes and popping out their head when they're having to learn
these minor changes, smart technologies, electric vehicles, the things they see changing in their home, is inspiring many people to want to retrain to be electricians, or just to start becoming, or when they get out of school, to become an electrician. It just, unfortunately, it's just not appealing enough with the way it's structured right now. It's not. I mean, we've got domestic scope and we've got commercial scope, which confuses the issue and approach to the industry already. And those who want to go into the full-on apprenticeship route, there's obviously funded, there's not funded. There's things like JTL where you're an apprentice, but you may not, but then you go in and it's kind of like there are many people on apprenticeships with no jobs.
I think it comes back to the debate of what actually constitutes an electrician nowadays, which I think we've covered, and I think I'm going to be covering again at some point soon on another podcast. But
it's very fractured, isn't it? The whole way in and out and the in between. And
I had a lady join me, connect to me on LinkedIn. I did a webinar, and I guess that's where she saw me. I said at the end, people said, "Where we connect?" I said, "Oh, well, I'm on LinkedIn." And she's a level 1 apprentice, and she's just doing voluntary work in hotels and things. And she's getting voluntary work because she can't find employment. She's a level 1 apprentice looking for an apprenticeship, but she's already in training. She started the training in January, and she's she's not just out of school. Let's put it that way. Yeah, but she wants to retrain.
One of my sub-subbies, he has employed an electrician to work on my railway, and he doesn't start college until September, and already he knows all of the British standard numbers for all the breakers. He's like a sponge. And the thing is the guy he's working with has an absolute OCD for doing a proper job. And he's a breath of fresh air for me, because he's one of the guys I heavily rely on. And yet this apprentice, I've pulled him aside and I've said, "Listen, dude, you have no idea how fortunate you are. This guy is really passionate, really caring. Take everything you can from him. Learn. You're going to have a fantastic time learning from him. Consider yourself lucky." And the guy had only been with him 4 or 5 weeks, and he went, "Yeah, I do. I can already see it." Yeah, he hasn't even started college yet. It's fantastic.
There are those people out there. Unfortunately, obviously, with the way the qualifications are structured or the way the training is developed, there's no funnel for those people to go down where they can then be selected and then graded for that ability. They're just carded with the rest. They're qualified with the rest, and they're lost in the flock. And so people who have that initiative to actually go further or level up or whatever, we don't have a way to take them aside or push them further or give them support even on an OHNC or on something.
That is a great term, Dave. Carded with the flock. You do come out with some great one-liners. You burn it all down. Carded with the flock. Yeah, no, it is true.
Biofuels of nonsense, but it's true.
You can miscard people who will have got to an endpoint assessment and genuinely put them out in the real world, will freeze. Will not have that confidence. This is why I always say that I've said to many a learner, it's the conscious knowledge of your own competence, and that also ties in with confidence as well. I always said to myself, in year 1, by year 3, you must be able to put up a fuse box on the wall and gland a cable. By the end of year 1, I was able to do that. So I was pushing my own boundaries, pushing the goals that I wanted set for myself. So by the time I did come out my time, I knew I could do industrial sparking, but I was scared of domestic sparking because I hadn't done enough of it. I was scared of railway signalling, and kind of why I went and did diversifying my knowledge and skills.
We're at a very particular point right now in these past 5 years, and so for the next 5 years forward as well, where young people at school or even young apprentices have have immediate access to taste the electrical industry just by going on social media, just by going online, looking at YouTube, looking at content. Some of it's really rubbish, some of it's really, really good. But they have this, and there are, again, we've said this in a previous podcast. I've had people contact me about doing, some advice for them doing work on their fuse box at home, and they're 12 or
kids.
Something. And so you immediately go, and there are, but I mean, there's that, but there are some people really passionate. There's that young lad, that plumber dude on Instagram, HP. He's obviously just playing in the garage and he's got all the tools. He's aspiring to enter the industry in plumbing, and that's the thing. Some people will tap onto social media, and so it's time to, and that's great. And so we'll have to see if they come in wanting that, and then the colleges offer them this textbook of nonsense, they're going to then ask for better from the colleges. And that's like I've always said, is we've got to start asking for better.
Well, that's where organic change comes from as well.
It will.
People saying, I want better. I want better. I'm paying a lot of money.
It's got to come to a head.
The amount of times I get told, oh, that was much better than what I paid for. I did a webinar earlier on with my dad, and we talked about a couple of things with fire and premature collapse. And two or three people in the chat mentioned a certain provider, certain competent person scheme, the training they had with them, and the information they were given. We pretty much just disproved it, and we're actually quite angry with the information given by the trainer. Very, very basically, without saying too much, the question about the rule plug, the plastic rule plug and stuff, and they said, well, if it's hot enough, that hot, everyone will be dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. Completely moving off of the point of the regulation for firefighters to tackle fires. This kind of attitude stinks. And if we keep giving this information to people at the front end on social media, the guys are going to come into the industry with much wider eyes to what the industry is like. And they're going to expect better from what it's offering.
I wish it was like how it is now when I was 16, man. And that's only 8 years ago now. But yeah.
Feels longer though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now you're off the tools and in the office, mate. It's it'll age you quickly. So before we go on to the next one, should we talk about the dreaded state of affairs we're all finding ourselves in? Obviously, because we're in lockdown now. This is
so you want to talk about COVID-19?
What day of the week is it? I have no idea.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Yeah. I can't even remember what week we're in now of all these lockdowns, to be honest with you. But
this is week 4, because I think last week was the last week, but we've extended it, I believe. I'm right.
Oh yeah, that was inevitable. In all fairness, the only reason they did that was to keep people calm and stop, taper out all the panic buying. But yeah, we've got what have we got at the moment? It's about 13,000 people have died from this, and no sign of a cure. And I went out today because I had to get some shopping, and you wouldn't think everyone was like, it's just back to normal.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, obviously, we had that panic rubbish and everyone panicking, but fundamentally, and as I've said this on the previous podcast, we talk about the NHS heroes. We've got people who drive the vehicles. We've got people at work. I do a lot of work in the food industry, and they're still at work because they've got to make the food. We've got to produce the food. We've got to transport the food. The essential services. Yeah, I mean, we're going to do another podcast, I think, where we talk about how people are considering their own work to be essential. But for now, people are still working. Now, they may be trying to work as much as they can, but they still got to make the bread. They've still got to that because it's business, but fundamentally, we've got to have food. And the logistics has to work as well.
I was told today in Tesco's, and I completely agreed with it. The woman said to me, I said, oh, it's quite busy in here. And she said, we got chatting about bits and bobs, and she said, it's nice actually to be considered a key worker. And I thought, but you guys are people who work, keeping people fed, keeping things moving, looking after people's health are key work. I think a lot of people are massively manipulating.
It's the same with the guys.
100%.
It's the same with the guys on. It's the same with the guys on the bins. You imagine if they, we've had like the odd strike here or there, and we worry about it there or there. But if they were just cut off,
Yeah.
You know, it won't take long for it to look like an apocalypse movie out there.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and that's the point. We have to really realize who the key workers are in all this.
Yeah.
But the NHS are clearly the frontline workers, though, and that is.
Well, my missus is NHS, and she is, but she's in mental health services, and it's just totally overwhelming her as it is, because the lockdown affecting people's mental health. I mean, I've been working from. I've always kind of. Where in my job I work in our head office in London, but because of the nature of what I do and how busy we are on the route, I found it better to work on the route in a bit more peace and quiet, or work from home. Now at home I'm super efficient with my quad monitors of doom and all the rest of it, but I have now literally, I mean, I wake up in the morning and at 9 o'clock I sit at this desk,
and that's it.
I then do video calls and WhatsApp video calls. And then before you know, I look down and it's 3:30 or 4 o'clock and I haven't moved. And you're like, this is weird. This is proper horrible. Now, your efficiencies are through the roof because you're doing loads more. But they're also affected because everybody's talking digitally all the time, because everybody's sat in front of the desk doing the same thing, trying to use work as a distraction, while other people may have large families who they're naturally worried about, and are just not in the mood for work. I mean, I've actually today, Dave, it's true, I've actually booked annual leave to go into my garden. I've actually booked,
which is justifiable. You're in your work right now, mate. You're at your desk. You're in your place
which is insane, because annual leave is normally go away, leave the home. But I actually just want some time away from what I now call my digital tomb, because when I'm here doing this. I'm here doing stuff that I enjoy doing, talking to my mates, talking about general stuff, chewing the fat. When I'm at work and you're chained to this, and you've got, like, you know, I mean, I did a video conference today with a director of Network Rail, video conference with a supplier, and it's constant. You're thinking, this is just more and more work. So the work efficiencies are going up, but the social and mental health impact is also going up.
It's I think for some of us it's because we're stuck. We don't have the freedom, like you say. You can go from station to station. The amount of times you've done a little walk through a station, you can kind of you could do the work in a number of ways. So you can think about your mental being and your fitness, and you're walking around. Right now you've got to sit at that desk. There's nothing else that you can do for work other than sit at that desk, really.
Yeah, I know. And the worst thing is, I've got a list. I've got a list of work things to do.
And everybody else is doing that, though. So work is coming at you quicker.
I know. And I'm still keeping people in work. And if anything, we're more busy now, because obviously we've got to keep the railways running and keep them going is an understatement. But it's harder. I never thought I'd say this, but part of me misses an office. But part of me, this has made me realise that the work-life balances we have in this country are just horrendous.
I think everyone's realised that.
Yeah. A lot of people, I mean, my brother does this. A lot of people who work from home, a lot of them have an arrangement where they don't really go 9 to 5. They'll be a bit more flexibility so they can have a bit of distancing from that one station or whatever. I'm doing these webinars at the moment, and as soon as a webinar is finished, I'm up and I'm out of this office. I'll go get a cup of tea. I'll go sit and watch TV with on the boys, whatever. And about half an hour to 45 minutes, I'll return. I'll then speak with the old man. I'll look at the emails. I'll make it ready for the next webinar. But as soon as it's done, I've got to have that separation.
Well, the trouble is for me, I struggle to go downstairs, because when I do go downstairs, my missus has converted the front room to an office, and she'll be on the phone to suicidal people or on the phone to the police. And so I'll sit there and I'm not even supposed to hear these conversations.
No, exactly.
And my missus, the stuff that she deals with as far as mental health and all the rest of it is just, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. She deals with some of the most horrific stuff, and the workload is getting more and more. And even doctors, I was watching the news today downstairs while I was eating my dinner, even the doctors are now doing like little video logs of their own mental health suffering. And
I had one this morning from we got this gentleman, Dr. Phillips something, did a video this yesterday, the end of the bank holiday week, and he announced how it's been. And he said that today, this was yesterday, so he was in Hartlepool at a clinic, and then in the afternoon was at another clinic, and he was just going through, the number of people in intensive care, the number of issues, and there was a video this afternoon of a nurse who's just come out of intensive care, so she's in recovery, and there's everybody applauding her in the local hospital. But they're being very honest, and he said that this is we're still on the climb here. We're not actually at the peak, and and we just got to keep.
I'll tell you what,
we've got to keep doing what we're doing.
That virus looks horrific, doesn't it? I mean, it looks like it takes no prisoners at all. I mean, some people have died with no symptoms at all.
Remember, we first heard it was all about old people with existing conditions.
Yeah,
but when you looked at it,
like the flu, wasn't it?
Yeah, but when you look at it, and I looked at it back over in China, and I was looking across Asia, and I was seeing things that, a lot of that was fairly well controlled, that media, but I was seeing the odd child here, the odd young person. But we're seeing now, I think I heard a 5-year-old, I think, the other day, and there's a 43-year-old mother just near me who was a mother of twin boys, healthy people as well, and with no pre-existing conditions. It really is at the moment a bit of a lottery.
It is. And the thing is now I know enough. I know of enough stories now of people who've actually passed. So I know electricians whose family members have passed of it. People in our supply chain, one guy, his uncles, all 3 of his uncles died of it. A lot. I think when this is done, everybody's going to know someone who's been affected of it, and yet the lockdowns. I don't think I don't want to use this to be critical of government, because I think Boris is. I can't criticise what Boris Johnson has done so far. I think Boris has had a crap time.
Yeah,
I can't criticise him.
At the end of the day, we can look at people like Dave. Without going into politics right now, let's try not to. But we can look at people like David Cameron, who abandoned us with Brexit and all that stuff. But who else would want this job right now?
Well,
nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody
wish it on anyone either.
I find it disgusting as well, the people on social media who are actually making everything political again now, all the Labour guys and everything else.
Yeah.
Do you know what? This is not the time for any of that. When this is done, you can have your Spanish Inquisition all you want.
Yeah.
But only when it's done and we are massively in the clear. Until then, my advice to all parliamentarians is shut up and get the goddamn job done. I find it embarrassing, like everybody's moaning at the Home Secretary for not being frontline enough. She's got a job to do. Let her go and run the police force. Let her go and coordinate all the Homeland Security. She doesn't have to come and spill her guts every 5 seconds. Let the Health Secretary, let the people doing the curing.
Well, the thing is, the country still needs to run how it was with all of this on top. It's an extra burden instead of.
Of course it is. It's insane what some people are expecting. And when you look at the expectations of people, it's always backed by a political agenda. And I'm sorry, but I will say this: I am so anti-left. It's mind blowing. I didn't even know what left was a year ago, but I just find there's too much. There's some honesty needed in our country.
I find, I mean, I don't want to go into too much into politics either, but I find when I look, I'm fine that you look right and you're like, hang on, no, whoa. But when you look left, you're like, well, no progress is going to happen with that, and you have to find out where you are.
Yeah.
I might be slightly right of centre if I was to give myself a label, but I just don't get labels, to be honest, with it all.
I don't get it either. Someone asked me the first time I ever heard of it. Somebody said to me, "Are you right wing or left wing?" And I was like, "What?" I had to go and read it up.
People like to have it all categorised, don't they?
Well, yeah, they do, and it's like, wow, put that logo on me. Why don't you?
This is the time where we need to realise that this is a virus that's killing people, and it doesn't care what your race, your colour, your sex, your age, or your political agenda, and we've all got to survive this as much.
I think the Labour Party do. I think the Labour Party care. Although, in fairness, I will say in my defence, I have voted Labour in the past.
Yeah.
I have voted Lib Dem in the past, and I have voted Conservative in the past, and I've not voted for any of the other parties, but I've always voted for one of those parties. But yeah, I just find the politicising of it is weird. I'm by all intentional purposes, it looks like this is not really we're not gonna come out of this till June. I think we're definitely in this for the rest of April. And the best part of May, and I'm probably sure at the beginning of May they'll probably start announcing something. But
yeah, I've heard. I mean, I've read there is now guidance about the cancellation of the GCSEs this year. There's talk about that now. So the academic school year is pretty much given. It's tossed. So God knows what's going to happen with regards to that. It might be that the guys who are going to do their exams are going to be prepared for December, maybe. Who knows? So I said to my wife, I said, well, the boys are going to be homeschooled. We just had obviously the 4 days at Easter, but we decided to carry on the homeschooling just so it didn't kind of ruin the flow.
disrupt.
So yeah, because the homeschooling is going okay. I mean, she's doing it pretty much by herself because I'm trying to do some work, get some work done. So we carried it on, and they're doing all right. But we've given up on the idea of going back to school this year.
It must be nice though as well, having the family around, because as the working dad, and stuff, it must be nice to actually just get some. I mean, you see, there's been some great videos on social media of blokes like getting to know their families and talking amongst each other, going, "Oh, my son, oh, blimey, he's all right. He is. I didn't really know who he was before, and now he's all right."
Well,
it must be nice in that respect.
I've spent the last few years pretty much in hotels and on motorways. I've sat a lot lately because I'm basically at home, working from home, but I'm home or in the house because obviously my work is in the detached garage. And I've just sat and I've just looked at my youngest, Max. He's 2 now, and he's at an age right now where I haven't really seen the other 3 boys at that age with the way they behave, because I've just missed it. They've gone from baby to toddler. Yeah. There's this cute bit in the middle that I've just not seen, and my youngest is there right now, and I've just been like cooing over and really enjoying it, really trying to enjoy it. But he is really enjoying having his brothers around, because his brothers are normally at school, so he's getting a lot of extra. Yeah, he is. He's really getting a lot of more development. He's becoming a little bit of a swine, but he's growing up a bit quicker because he's surrounded by his brothers, and he's loving it. We've got the habit. I mean, we use Tesco. And at midnight you have to check for the slots to be available. So we're waiting up at midnight, we're looking for the slots, so we get into a queue, and then they're all bloody gone. Then Bella gets a slot and she says, "I've got one." We do one shop a week. I mean, I know somebody that is trying to grab every slot with 3 different shops. They're this worried, and they're having consecutive deliveries every day over the road from us. There's there's an Asda, then tomorrow it'll be a Sainsbury's. One day there's an Asda and a Tesco on the same day, about 2 hours apart.
People are still panic buying. People are still panic shopping.
They are still doing it, and they're doing it online. And we're only allowed to get with Tesco. You're only allowed 80 items. Okay, that's the limit. That's for everybody. And now for us, we're coping with that. But if we, for example, we did a dinner the other night. We did corn dogs and prawn toast and little snacky things. It was like 8 boxes of snack food, and that's one meal. So in a day, you're going to have 8 boxes for a dinner. You're going to have cereal. You're going to have lunch. So 80 products is not actually enough to feed a family of 6 over a week. But we are keeping it to a weekly shop. We've had to learn that.
Yeah. I think we do a weekly shop as well, or if needs be, like we'll do a small one to the BP garage for a loaf of bread or some buns and stuff. But the BP garage, one, it's so expensive, you don't really want to go in there unless you get the minimal. And the only thing really you want is bread or milk. And the BP garage, in fairness, they're brilliant because you can walk in there. They've got a queuing system, but there's rarely ever queue because it's so expensive.
It seems that the impossible thing to get right now is flour.
Yes,
everyone's
my
baking.
Missus asked me today. My missus asked me today to get her flour, and every single shelf was empty. And apparently, it's been empty in Tesco's for months. So baking is the thing to do.
Weird, I don't get it.
Yeah, with baking bread, they've stocked up on the ingredients to bake bread when they need to.
And also cake making, good family exercises, good to teach kids, and But so it's a weird time for everyone. Mike. How are you handling work? Because tell us about how it's affected your work life. I mean, we know how I am now. I'm working from home. Dave is constantly working in his dojo. It's not your shed, it's your dojo.
My dojo.
How's it affecting you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not enjoying it as much. Obviously, I'm grateful to be in work. I know a lot of people aren't getting anything at the minute. So I'm very, very grateful to be in work. But it's just adjusting, really. I'm enjoying the time with my family, but then, my little one's just turned 1, so she's running around and desperate for attention. But me and my partner are staring at screens in the living room, all day.
So you're in the living room?
Well, yeah.
So how would you actually get to that point in the morning after breakfast? Right. Now I'm going to work.
Yeah. So it's a bit of it's a bit of getting a load of toys out, trying to stimulate her in a way, putting stuff on on the TV, trying not to be too much like just movies and stuff. We're trying to do educational stuff and that as well, but and just just trying our best, basically, as you can imagine.
I think that's what we're all doing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of, as Paul says, I've got this dojo, so I can get up, do breakfast, coffee, and then I can actually say to the boys, right, I'm off to work.
Yeah,
and if I shut my door, it means I'm doing a live recording or a podcast or anything, and then they know not to come out. And then as soon as I'm done, I'll stay working, emails, whatever, but I'll open the door and they'll come in, they'll jump on the sofa, they'll come up to here, they'll spam at my keyboard, and I'll go for call, and then I'll kick them out. But I try to have some time with them because I'm at home. Daddy's at home. They want to see, they want to come up and see me. It's not. They can actually see me through the window. I look out my window. I can see into my conservatory. So like my one of my boys will be playing on the Xbox on Fortnite, and they'll be going, "I'm on Neville, blah blah blah," telling me how much better he is at me at Fortnite, and I'll be going, "Yeah," like this. And so I have to try to stay engaging with them.
Yeah. It's a juggle.
It is. For me, I couldn't. I don't know if I could work in the living space with them though.
My missus has set up where our living room is. There's like a bay window, so she set up the kitchen table in the bay, and that's where she's working from now. So the front room is her living room, is her office. And what we found is with our dog, the dog will basically pester her for cuddles, then come upstairs, sit on the new little couch we've got, and then pester me. So I'll be sat here. Looking into a webcam, and I'll have the mic on mute, and the dog will jump up on my lap and then just snort and lick and cuddle me while everyone on the videos are watching, going, "Oh, your dog's lovely, your dog's lovely." She'll get down, she'll go downstairs, and then she'll do it again to my missus, get a cuddle from her. When my missus have the phone, she'll come back up here. So today alone, I've had her 5 times, literally lying across me, just like licking me or looking out of the window, and just grabbing attention. That's all she does now. Up, down, just attention seeking. But that's a dog, by the way, not a child. Child would be different.
That's the same. It's the same with pets. I mean, it's a routine, and the routine has changed.
It has.
My routine's massively out of whack.
So is that work routine or just because I find it weird stopping work and going downstairs and then I think it's affecting mental health. I do. I used to love sitting here doing stuff. I did, Dave. Now I'm so sick of this view. These quad monitors is just doing my head into on a shoe. It's almost soul destroying at times.
That's because you've gone from wanting to be there to do things to being pulled.
Yeah, it's being there, not like you're forced to be, but it's out of choice, isn't it? I think, and that's subconsciously wearing away. You look at it differently, I think.
Yeah, this is nice because this is me wanting to do it, but the work stuff is quite hard, and I think everyone I work with, to be honest with you, we're all suffering from it because it's constant. It's constant when we're all sitting at our desks all day, every day. It's draining because you miss the human interaction at work of being able to just go into a room and having a chat and just chew the fat for 20 minutes. Just to have that social interaction, that break.
I think a lot of people have got to that stage now. I've seen a few posts today. I mean, we've seen for the past few weeks, the government is asking you to stay at home, sit on your ass, eat food, watch TV, just don't go out. We should all be enjoying this. And then we're now seeing people going, I miss going out and I miss seeing people. And I miss meetings. I miss, people are really starting to miss that. And I think, it's for some people who are working at home. Some people never say that before. It is a novelty to work at home, but it can be very boring, and that can turn into forms of depression and stress.
I don't mind the work from home. I just think it's the not being able to go out and do what I normally. So for me, my breakaway was always going to Cineworld, and what I call my fortress of eternal solitude, and just falling asleep in a film. I haven't done that in ages, or going to the gym for a swim. Haven't done that in ages, as my belly can attest. And I think when we go from lockdown to non-lockdown, I think everyone in life there's a lot of business is going to be so busy.
It's going to be a boom.
Everything's going to be a huge boom because cars need servicing, and my MOT's run out. That needs doing. There's going to be a massive backlog. I've got to get my teeth fixed because my wisdom tooth broke. I can't get a dentist appointment. You try to get a dentist appointment, they're booking them for like end of July, August now. So it's everything's backlogging. We have literally froze time, and I know the government are saying, "Oh, relax,
except
enjoy."
The construction industry.
Well, the construction industry, to be honest with you, I just think the way the construction I'll say this, and I don't care who hates me for it. The way the construction industry has handled this has been nothing short of wank. And I don't mean that in the fun, pleasurable sense. I mean it in the awful, disgusting, shameful. I think that the Construction Industry Council has issued these site operating procedures. Mace are going back to work. The chief exec of a
lot of places haven't even stopped.
Mace. Yeah, it's bullshit, man. It makes a mockery that people can be fined for not social distancing, but yet loads of them have to go to work and have trades standing all over each other.
Well, a lot of people getting contracts held over them as well because they're not sticking to program and stuff like that.
It's bullshit.
That is dirty tactics.
The government advice has been written very cleverly, where it
down to the employer.
Those who read it one way will read it where it says, right, well,
open to interpretation.
We should not work, and we should stay at home unless we have to work. And if we have to work, it's that's like key working. Where we have to work essential services. But some people are working because they think having to earn an income is key working. Well, that's what the point of the support from the government is. That is the incentive to try to remind us that actually the need to work is because we have, and we should try as much as we can to work from home. But this is the problem; it's not been strong enough in saying do's or don'ts because they've not gone to that point.
This is exposed a lot, though, isn't it? It's exposed a lot of things.
I've seen plumbers on Twitter, etc., saying I'm going to do a boiler install next week. Got to keep got to keep working, got to keep burning. But you're gonna here's the issue, right? If I work in a food factory, I've got to produce food. Fine, I'm going to go from A to B, A to B, A to B, or A to B, then B back to A. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going home to work, work to home.
Yeah.
No other visits. Not going to Costa. I'm not going to go to McDonald's. I'm not going to go to the cinema. I'm going to work, do essential work, going to come home. Now, a tradesman, he's going to go get some gear. He's going to go to a house. He may pick up COVID-19. He's not going to know that. She's not going to know that for a week or two. Then they're going to go to another house, then another house, then another house, and another house, and another house. Yeah. This stuff stays on surfaces for hours and days, depending on the surfaces. Metal surfaces and stuff. And we had the situation. But again, I understand this is the point of this though. There are emergencies. There are blackouts. There are leaks. So there has to be some tolerance. But that's the point. We had our boiler went down. We had no hot water. Yeah, I had no hot water. I've got a house with 4 kids and my wife, so we thought, my wife contacted a plumber who is husband of one of her friends on Facebook. He lives literally about 8 houses down there. So we stayed downstairs. He went upstairs. He worked on it. He repaired it. We gave some things a clean. We gave him wipes to use and all that. We tried our best, but we had to get the heating back on. To me, that is okay because that is immediate work, and we have obviously hygiene. We have to have hot water, etc. But it's not putting up a light fitting. It's not replacing a boiler, etc. Unless it's an emergency. This is the problem. It's an interpretation of what is essential. Essential is not having to carry on earning money if the government is going to supplement that.
I think the problem is, so like we do a lot of work for like Sainsbury's and Co-op and stuff in their distribution centres. We are working, flat out with them,
which is absolutely paramount, just like Paul's Railway.
Exactly, and then we're also our local hospital. We've just fitted out a area for like hundreds of extra beds, power, stuff like that. But then we're also doing office refurb projects where we don't want to go. We've literally got one person there, but we're contractually forced to, and we'll get fined if we don't. And that's obviously going to affect the company. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then,
you see, that's
just from
skewed,
that though, you get people going, oh well, that guy's going to work. And then so they think, oh well, and obviously it's financial hardship for people. So then you get people going, oh well, if he's going to work, and that's the problem. It's so
anyone who's enforcing a financial penalty in construction at the moment is an arsehole.
Exactly, yeah.
They're arseholes, and they are part of the problem. They are part of the problem in our industry. They are part of the cancer that is the construction industry. They are not part of any solution.
People are still worried about deadlines, and we got this one project. We can't even source the materials because of this virus. Yet we're still being.
You're going to be held for your deadline.
Yeah.
The worst thing is it shows how fragile we are, though, for something like this. Because realistically, one of the lessons learned from this should be resilience planning at a national level. Now, we always assume that the government had all these contingencies and all these warehouses and everything else, and this has shown how fragile supply chains are. I mean, we're building 6 new hospitals in a matter of weeks at God knows what cost. And yeah, I've seen people arguing over rates on social media. Where for me, if you were an electrician working in a hospital, to me it's national service.
Yeah, 100%.
You're doing a service.
I agree.
You've got the girders there, haven't you?
And the worst thing is that the manufacturers that are dining out on look what we're supplying, are they getting paid for that? You're damn right they should be supplying that shit for free.
Yeah. When I don't know if it was a spam or whatever. When I saw that post about that hospital and the electricians being paid £20 an hour, I saw loads of people going, "It's London, £20 an hour. That's garbage." I'm thinking, fucking hell.
Well, I thought you're part of the problem.
I'm thinking, hang on. If I was in any, I mean, I put myself into an area of responsibility because I'm trying to deliver training I'm trying to keep electricians thinking, trying to help mental health by doing free webinars. But if I was geographically near there, I would be on my network of people. I'd go, right, guys, who's up for it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'd ask for money to help with PPE, with help with all the safety, but the work would not be charged.
Yeah.
Temporary systems in my area, I whack that in, it would be tested. And there was a guy on LinkedIn this afternoon. I saw you post. I don't know what that's about, but clearly a lot of this distribution is like temporary, with the endpoint being data trunking converted. That's clearly what they've whacked in there.
Someone on LinkedIn has apparently done a post or a video that shows the behind the scenes of the electrical installation at the Nightingales.
Yeah.
And according to his posts, they are basically lethal, awful, which to me is just scaremongering words. There probably is some poor workmanship in it, but at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but it's a temporary installation. So long as it's fit and functional, it works. It disconnects.
The one we did at our local hospital, it wasn't an IT system. It wasn't like built to be a hospital. It's just get it done. It was compliant. I'm not saying it was that bad, remember, it's understandable.
This is where Sparks can fearmonger, and it's always driven by rates, not remembering their fundamental principles.
It's the first thing
barriers? Is there enclosures? Is there insulation? Is there protection by disconnection of the supply? Is there supplementary protection from earth leakage? All these other things, is there intrinsic measures needed for any gas systems? Have you considered all this? Yes. Move on.
I was halfway through typing a post in response to it, and I was trying to say, what's going on? Why are we saying this? I was ashamed of many electricians' posts, not electricians in my network. I have to say, the ones that were not in my circle, but they were replying to it. And I was going to go on my Facebook group. I was going to say, look, who's up for this? Let's get together. But it got to the point where it's like, well, I can't actually. I'm all the way up here, and I've got training booked in to help. And I had like 300 people booked in for a webinar, and I just thought I'd leave it. And then obviously we found out that the army were starting to do it, or the Gurkhas were doing some work, and others. So I left it. But I was very close to just shaming a lot of people that were just all about, oh, that's rubbish money. I understand we've got to feed our families.
Some people aren't getting any money, so
but there's a
jump for that.
I know.
There's a line, and as Paul said, it's part of national service to a point.
It is a national service.
To
it's
support
a duty to your community.
To use the skills. The skills need to. Otherwise, one day they'll just do that. They'll go, you've got those skills, you do that, and
remember there'll be a lesson learnt there, and unless somebody will turn around and go, do you know what? We built this without a lot of Moni Sparks. So what do we need to do to make this happen again and again and again and again? Because this is one of the inherent dangers. If Sparks complain and kick off too much, they will be replaced. Because that's how big projects work, how construction works. They'll find ways to get rid of the troublemakers. And the worst thing is there's always a way of raising things in the right way. But the first part of it comes from discipline within yourself. And electricians, sadly, we're not great at that, because we like to kick off quite easily, quite a lot, as we all do. We all have done it. We're all guilty of it as well. Right, I'm going to move on from this horrific thing, because we've got other bits to talk about. Social media, right? Well, it kind of nicely segues into it, really. Social media. I personally find Twitter horrible. My Sparky Jedi account, I've locked it now. I've literally said to people, if you want to connect with me, unless I can see your face and your name, I will not accept your connection request. I still have, I think I've got about 50 people that have requested that I just don't bother pushing the button on, because they can't read a simple thing in my bio, I'm not going to bother responding. What do you find? Because obviously you're Instagram heavy. You focused a lot of effort into Instagram. What do you think of the other social media platforms? How do you find engagement on them?
Yeah, so I've got a Facebook page for Residual Current. I had to make one anyway, I think, because it's all one thing, but different now, isn't it? Facebook and Instagram. I don't really push that. It does get like a few engagements here and there and people liking stuff, but I don't actually. I think what I post on Instagram automatically appears on there.
I'm going to say, if you have it probably connected to your Facebook, so if you post a story, sorry, if you do a post, it goes as a post. If you do a story, it goes as a Facebook story.
That's it. But obviously, the content isn't as tailored for Facebook. In like my description,
I've just liked it. I've just found it and I've just liked it. I didn't realise.
Yeah, but I don't really push that. I'm on on my personal Facebook. I'm on a lot of electrical trade groups. And communities, but they're so toxic. It's more entertainment, really. I don't dare post on there.
Some of the questions that they put on there, right? I'll be honest with you. So I'm a moderator on Dave's one. Some of the questions I've literally pumped. I'm sorry, Dave, but I've pumped people out of your group just for the stupidity of their questions.
The one is a lot nicer than. It's not. Some of them are just like a wild space. They're not. They say they're moderated, but they're really not. It's
No, with my one. I mean, I've got a couple of groups, but the Sparky Ninja group is the main one. I think that's about to hit. I don't look at numbers, but Bella likes to play with it, and I think it's about to hit 6,000 in the next week or so. I don't know if that's good in comparison. I think it's pretty strong for the electrician UK group.
6,000 good ones. That's I think.
Yeah, and that is the thing. I mean, I've said it a number of times too. I try to keep it nice and balanced. I may have to get more moderators eventually, but I've got Mr. Meenan here as one of the main mods. And I've got Robert and Emma, which is the Sadler duo. Yeah. Myself and my wife, and so Emma and my wife, being two women, that's great because I had loads of people come in just a couple of weeks ago from a group called Open Circuit, which is a lady-only electrical community group, and they all came in, and I said, "Oh, that's great," and I said to Emma, I said, "But if you find anything in this group that you think is any way sex or whatever, don't ask me, just get." And there's, I've said it a number of times. I haven't got a problem if that number goes from 6,000 over a weekend down to 600. What I need is the right people to be in that group. And I've had a couple of people say I'm going to have to go for a little bit or be quiet for a little bit because it's getting too big, and there's a lot of people that are condescending and taking the piss because people go in there, they don't listen, and quite often here's the problem because there's only a few of us moderating. They do get in.
They slip through, yeah.
We did try to control it quite tightly.
I pump them. I sling them. I have the world record for. I'll tell you now. For the 6,000 people who are in Dave's group, I've probably sacked 6,000 out of it.
And the thing is, they'll come to me and they'll DM me and they'll go, "Why am I in it?" And then sometimes they'll be nice, sometimes they'll be really, really bitter.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Well, you're letting me know exactly why that's happened, and I don't care." And I just ignore it.
Go away. We don't want negative people in the group. You'll get pumped. Simple as that. If you're negative on a job, you get pumped. And you're negative in that group, you get pumped. Simple as that. But we have pumped loads and loads of people out of that group for the wrong thing, slagging off people who are humble, slagging off people who are trying to learn. Sometimes you've got to ask the dumb questions because you don't know. There is a way of just saying, look, I don't think you possibly should be doing that, or maybe asking that politely. Some of them just take the piss, some of them rib, some advertise stuff. One guy was advertising, I think he was advertising the other day, selling a load of lights. I didn't know it was hooky. Out you go. See you later. Gone.
Yeah.
Deleted. Bye. See you later. Gone.
So anything like that, I did try to keep it like tight to enter. So, do you agree with the rules? And the rules would say, electricity, but there was the way Facebook works on, I don't know if it's the iOS or whatever, but I have a checkbox to confirm you've seen the rules. And, when we see that they join, it can tell me if they've checked that or not. And most people weren't actually confirming it.
They weren't at all.
And we were just going, off you go.
If they weren't confirming it, they weren't getting in. And I tell you now that I easily well over 1,000 people who didn't tick that box were just denied access because we were like, no, they're the if they don't tick the box, they don't get in. Period.
Yeah.
But then one weekend, I was like, there's so many.
That group should have about 15,000 people in it by now.
And people were saying, I'm not seeing a tick box, so I tested it. I got my PC, and on my PC, I can go to a browser and I can adjust the settings, and I can go to a Mac. And the checkbox wasn't there. And I was like, so it was like the current update of Facebook at the time. The tick box was missing from it. And so the requirements that I was turning them away for not complying with, they weren't seeing. They were just automatically submitting it, and so we did fling a lot. That actually,
Oh, but, did we screw that one up, Dave?
Natural selection.
Well, did you screw that one up?
It was Facebook who screwed that up. But they can come back. They're not banned. They just weren't accepted. So they can come back. But no, if we remove people, what I do, if I remove someone because of their behaviour,
I'm a moderator.
All of the other groups.
I'm a moderator now on the Schneider group as well.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That came up on my Facebook feed the other day. You were a moderator. I was like, oh, really? Am I going to ask? Okay, never mind. I'll accept. Right, pump.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it was great. Just get out. Yeah, no, I won't tolerate any of that on Facebook.
I find Facebook frustrating because when I work on Facebook, I've got a page and I've got 4 groups and I've got my own profile. And sometimes I want to do one thing, but it actually does it as the other page or the other profile, or it mixes it up. And then I've got the Instagram connection. So I'll do a post on Instagram, which will then appear on Facebook as the page. That's fine. But I'll receive a message. But is that message through Instagram, which then pings up on Facebook, or is it through Facebook, or is it through another part of Facebook? And I've got about I've got about 5 different inboxes in Facebook, which when I open up Facebook, won't actually tell me that I've got to go into something separate, a separate program that I've had to download with Facebook called
Pages, isn't it?
Pages Manager.
Yeah. So I've even deleted that. That's how much I use Facebook.
Yeah. So I've had to download that so I can actually filter through, and I've probably got. Let me just open it up. This is.
Don't that give you like all of the controls that you'd normally get on your?
It combines everything. Okay, so it gives me the feed of Messenger, Facebook, Instagram, and I don't know what the hell that one is.
Oh, for frig's sake.
Something else. And
right. Well. Okay. So just focusing back on the topic. I'm
Facebook
not a fan of
sucks,
Twitter,
but I use it.
Facebook. Listen. I'll agree with you. Facebook, I only ever use to keep in touch with schoolmates. I've now got the electrical industry adding me. Some people I know, others I don't, and I don't understand that, and I will not accept people I don't know on there. And I hate Facebook anyway. I just think it's very impersonal now.
I always use Facebook as I add schoolmates, and I never used it for any other reason. But some people have recently started to add me from the electrical industry. Yourself, a couple of others.
I don't know who you are.
I think Robert did today as well. I was like, oh, okay. What we're going to do is find stupid pictures of me from the last 10 years. You know.
Do you know what? I haven't even looked at your page. I just connected with you.
It's nothing to look at, really.
No, mine's is. There's tons. I lived on Facebook for probably 7 or 8 years, so there's loads on mine. Just photos of me younger and stuff and at work.
Yeah, there's just pictures. There's just pictures of me on holiday with the family.
Oh, I'll tell you what there is. I'll tell you what there is on mine. It's all my school photos that I had digitally scanned and restored. Uploaded them onto Facebook so all my schoolmates could have access, so they could all download them for their own printing ability. I just put it in a folder called St. Tommy Moore, and that's what I did it. But I don't use it for pretty much anything anymore. Twitter, I just find every time you open it up, someone's criticizing someone. Instagram, I like. LinkedIn, I like because you have to be professional, or it can destroy your career and you look like a twonk. If you had to pick one, what would you pick? Both of you.
I'll let Michael answer that. I think that's an obvious one for him.
Day.
Instagram.
Yeah, for me, it would actually be probably LinkedIn or Instagram. Do you want to shiver?
I have a lot of things to do on Facebook. I've got a page. I've got groups. I've got lots of people in a community, but Facebook does try to do too much. Facebook is now telling me to do work. Because this whole working from home thing, Google Classroom kind of thing, Facebook has jumped onto that. So every time I go onto Facebook, it now wants me to start working with other people in my network and all that. And when you go around all the menus, Facebook tries to do too much. But I have a lot of growth on Facebook, which really frustrates my my technical guy.
The one thing I find very deeply disturbing with Google and Facebook is I know there was a thing about phones listening to your conversations and everything, and I genuinely do believe that. I mean, me and my missus, we had a chat about probably about a year and a half ago about adoption, and it was quite an intense one. And our mobile phones were in the room, and next thing you know, and I hadn't Googled it, I hadn't looked it up, we hadn't researched it anyway. It was just a very serious, deep, heartfelt chat about adoption. And next thing you know, I wake up next morning and I open up virtually every single app, and there it is: adoption. There is no frigging way.
Test
every
it.
single app.
Think of the most random thing and suddenly talk about it for 10 minutes around your phone, and you'll see Facebook mention it in ads or recommended the next 2 or 3 days. Can you remember we were doing a Skype call and Ryan was on, and we talked about the Wago or the Wago.
Yeah.
And Ryan always comes up with this: is it Wago or Wago? Because And then Ryan said, "What can you remember? Was it Wagner? Remember him?
Wagner, yes,
Wagner.
Yeah. And I put it on the video, didn't I?
Right. He said Wagner, and it was out the speakers on my PC. Wagner. I probably said Wagner back. So the word Wagner was probably mentioned 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
The next 2 or 3 days, can you remember I showed you guys? I had that stupid bloody advert, that promotion, all with Wagner on it. He appeared on my phone.
Didn't know you were a fan, Dave.
Right, now I've said his freaking name again. He's going to be on there.
You have said his name again. Right, so we're going to move on to the last subject before we close this off. But before we do, it's worth noting we have a new podcast sponsor. Hit the Lights with Gary, although he doesn't actually pay us. So that was
I was going to say, do we get sponsors?
No, we don't do sponsors. But it's worth noting that Gary has a podcast called Hit the Lights. He's a nice guy. I've just recorded one with him. I know you've just released one with him as well, Mike, isn't it? You've done one with him?
Yeah, I think it's Monday.
Is it Monday? Right, it's coming out on Monday as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so this one will be out Sunday, so then there'll be another one. So you're going to have 2 podcasts over 2 days. Sorry, Gary. Sorry.
It's next week. It might be Wednesday, I think. It might be Wednesday.
It's a double dose of residual current then. That's not a bad thing. Right, my last subject, and very quickly, because I know this is going over the hour and you're going to have trouble getting this on Instagram. CPD, there's a lot of talk about what CPD is. Okay. I think there's quite a healthy debate on it. And I think we're very new on this journey. I find the whole thing hysterical because I'm a CPD assessor, and it's a really simple concept of, if you've gone and done something and you can reflect on it and you remember it at a time later and still reflect on it, it's been good CPD. The format and the logo is irrelevant.
Yeah, but Paul, what do you know, huh?
What do I know? I'm only a trained CPD assessor. Yeah, exactly. Mike, what is your views on what CPD is?
I completely agree. I think CPD is anything that betters you in your craft or in what you do, whether that's practically or intellectually. Literally, watching YouTube sometimes or scrolling through Instagram is a form of CPD, albeit very basic, or doing one of Dave's webinars or going on a course at my local training centre. It's whatever. If you come out more knowledgeable, more better, even more confident in ways.
You did a video on Instagram reviewing a ProPack trade case.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I loved it, and it immediately made me Amazon search it and then have a heart attack at the cost of it. But I still want one. And do you know what the worst thing is if I can still remember that in 12 months and reflect on the benefits of that trade case, was that CPD for me? Yes, it was. It was. It's just people have to. There is an industry, there is an economy that is solely dependent on the selling of a brand or a badge or a logo.
Now, especially with just the way the industry is inclined, you get a buzzword, don't you? And I think CBD is now very genuinely, but has now become a buzzword in the industry, and a lot of people are jumping on that.
A message to the CPD accrediting bodies: you're horse shit. There you go. I've said it. You're horse shit.
Thing
you're selling.
Everyone wants a certificate for the CPD. Am I going to have to start giving out stuff for my Instagram videos?
Like, why don't you produce an Instagram certificate so that anybody watches your video and can answer 5 questions on your video about certain things, you can then send them that certificate as a record of CPD. There's nothing stopping you legally. There's nothing immoral about it. And do you know what? You're bang on, because if an electrician sends in a CPD review to the IET, I'm the one who's going to be reviewing it. And if I can see that guy has gone, do you know what? As part of my soft skills, not my technical ones, but as part of my soft skills, to develop my trade knowledge, I use all these modern mediums to learn. And Sparking Inch taught me about thermistivity on thermography. Didn't know anything about that. When did you do that? I did that 9.5 months ago. Really? Yeah. What did you do? I went away and bought a Fleur 1, and me and the lads started playing at work. Great. Do you know what that meant? It meant you were pushing yourself and others. You were pushing your own boundaries. That's what it's about. It's not sitting there going, I know what I learned 20 years ago, and that's enough. It's constantly evolving your knowledge. You don't need a goddamn logo provider. I'm sorry, but
I've developed more through qualifying through CPD than I have in my path to qualifying. I think
it's incredible. And the guy who does the free CPD calendar, a huge round of applause to him. Pegasus Electrical, I think. Huge round of applause to him. That is a brilliant idea, and well done to you, sir. I think, all hats off to that, because that's great, bringing all that together. Although I do think lots of other people are jumping. Anyway, Dave, what's your view on CPD very quickly before I start effing and jeffing again?
You can't ask me a question about CPD and have the word quickly in the same sentence.
I'm sorry. What's your view on it? And by the way, I'd like to publicly thank you on behalf of everyone who's attended your webinars.
Do you know how many? Do you know how many attendees I've had?
Well, you had me, and that was more than enough.
Do you know, I've had over 2,000 attendees.
Wow! No, and can I just say,
brilliant,
I've had over 2,000 attendees.
I had one of my personal bucket list moments when I got to do a webinar live with Mr. Ninja and his dad, and literally 10 minutes before, let's just do it. And I think we nailed it. And I watched it back, and I was so proud of that. That's the sort of thing where I can look back at 20 years ago. It's me and my mate just knocking it out of the park. Yeah. Really chuffed for
that. It's got nothing to do with gaining evidence to put in a file if it means you don't actually remember it or reflect on it or use it because it's not developed to you. It's very easy to attend something, get a certificate, and then get evidence and then tick a box. That's where CPD is corruptible, and that's where CPD is false.
Do you know what? Can I just add to that? So, having done many CPD return assessments, there is an inherent lack of knowledge of what it is. There is an inherent laziness towards it, especially by people who are professionally busy, and people who aren't professionally obliged to do it. There is a huge mountain now to argue over as to what it goddamn well is on social media. And all the people arguing on social media aren't professionally registered, have no real experience of it, and won't open their eyes up to the fact that it's everything and anything as long as you can reflect and have learned something from it. And this is why we say these podcasts, some of them, do you know what? Some of the chit chat ones we do are not CPD. However, if there's one or two things someone can take away from it and they can reflect upon it, great. I mean, there's soft skills, there's technical skills, me rambling for 35 minutes in RCD selection.
Yeah,
that's CPD.
And I think sometimes
take this podcast we've just done right now. I mean, our conversation about working from home, the impact of mental health, that's going to be CPD for someone because they're going to listen to that and they're going to reflect on that. And they're going to seek to improve their situation from that.
Yeah.
I'll talk about
some
social media
and our
interaction.
By the way, because and it'll be their opinion, but not that I actually care, to be honest with you. But some people have got some very harsh opinions because if it doesn't fit within their domain or their world of what CPD is, rather than open up their eyes or ears or actually going and doing some training on CPD or reading up. I mean, and for me, I'll be honest with you, I didn't understand CPD until I did the training. And the minute I did the training, I got asked to sit on the committee for CPD assessors. And it's a fascinating insight. Mate, honestly, if you saw some of the CPD returns that I've seen, I've had guys send their returns in to me and I've looked at their return and I've gone, I haven't written this, but I've wanted to say, you lazy git. You have done hundreds of hours of CPD, but you're just putting in a basic return because the minimum is 30 hours. Once people get what CPD is, you could easily log probably 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
If you actually really understand what the criteria is.
Yeah.
But you see, I have. Sorry, Michael. I know you're about to say something, but I'll just put it. I have issues with organizations. I had this with the PCN certification process in thermal imaging. Organizations that say we need you to do 30 hours. It's the same with teachers training and the Institute for Learning. It's like, does that mean I don't have to do any more?
No, but remember.
I understand you have to set a minimum, but there has to be another way.
But the minimum. This is the trouble. It's when people are very, very, very busy with their day jobs. If you set a minimum, it is exactly that. It's a minimum awareness, and by getting them to go back and consciously be aware, your minimum has to be. So, for instance, when I do my return, I can actually take. I can use my CPD hours to reflect against soft skills or technical skills, or the UK spec of competence that I have to adhere to as a professional engineer. So if I do a management, like project management online course, I can reflect that to a engineering council criteria, and I can say I did this to improve my levels of C2, which is managing people, projects, etc., etc. That's great because you're mapping your ongoing development into the framework that you're obliged to maintain your competence. It's just literally continually improve. That's all it is.
It's in the name. It's in the name.
How you do it is fucking irrelevant.
But if you give a value where you have to hit an objective target, that makes it feel like an obligation to many.
It is.
They don't see the value in it.
It's an obligation for professionally registered persons. I believe it's an obligation in other professions as well. My missus is an occupational therapist. She has to do a minimum of 150 hours.
Yeah, so does my dad's wife. She's a nurse. She does 100.
My missus spent probably 2 weeks up here, which is why it's good to bulk record podcasts, every evening putting together copious amounts of reflection diaries to prove and demonstrate, because her one was peer reviewed. And I would sit there and laugh because I could see what she was doing and the stresses she was under, but I could also see it from the peer reviewer perspective. And the peer reviewer is simply there to go, have you done it? Yes. Did you reflect it against any other criteria or scope? Well done. Are you continually wanting to do more? Well done, pat on the back. Now, in 20 years' time, that level of scrutiny is going to get more and more and more and more. But CPD is a relatively new thing that they're trying to implement, like the Statement of Ethical Principles, which didn't exist many years ago.
And a lot of people were doing CPD, they just didn't know they were. You know,
mate, when I was younger, CPD for me was I have to do a sitting guilds or it's not CPD.
Yeah.
And now I know I can
it should be part of the college curriculum now as well. When you're coming to the end of your time, they should do. You know, you should have an hour-long chat about CPD. This is what it is in all of its forms, and
it should be part of the curriculum. You're right.
Yeah.
The people should leave colleges knowing that every day is a school day, and
they should just hear about it or see it on, shady Facebook ads from training providers and stuff like that. Where that just using that buzzword.
Again, we've discussed the JIB or SparkSafe, all these other strategies, and if they were to implement a strategy where the approved persons had to reflect and provide CPD, then you've got something else.
Yeah,
they just don't. It's not in there yet.
The JIB were talking about CPD, but they've been talking about CPD for years, haven't they, as well? We've discussed it on other podcasts.
Again, sometimes for some people, it's just 3 letters to throw around and then look for an accredited certificate later on.
Yeah.
And a lot of these accredited certificates go on the back end of something that isn't really engaging, but is more of a thanks for coming as well.
Do you know what the weirdest thing is? So Lux Live, I got an email certificate for Lux Live attending. Okay, now that Lux Live certificate, I could probably play around with that and delete the title off of it and create my own certificates. The whole CPD accreditation is just rubbish. And please listen to our CPD podcast. Feel free to message us if you disagree. But I've got a unique insight into CPD, and it's just about caring enough to do something and reflect. If somebody tries to impose their view on you, you must do, you shall do. No. As long as you're consciously aware that you're learning and you're growing, that's enough. This unfortunately over the years.
Unfortunately, it always comes down, as you said, with the third-party creditors. It's all about money and stimulus of money.
Yes, it is.
Again, the situation I'm in right now, I've delivered training for people, and a lot of them, even before I started, were requesting it be CPD accredited so that they can then put it on their CVs, because their employers require any CPD that they do to be accredited. That immediately makes me look into it, and I've contacted many, but the CPD accreditation services will pay you'll pay the max amount for accrediting an event, which you can then redeliver as many times as you want to over a 12-month calendar year. But it's one event, and take for example,
why can't it just stand up on its own feet though? Why does it have
feed
to
generation?
It's
feed generation hidden under we accredit and check and verify learning.
Anyone can see from a mile away that it's CPD.
Yeah, but the trouble is the admin staff who do all the CPD accreditation can't. They just have basic rules that says you can only have a logo on the front and end page. There has to be some learning taken place. It's an utter false economy. I'm sorry, but these CPD accreditation bodies should be shut down. People are going to really hate me for saying that.
But they're not giving any. Well, from my perspective, I said this to not the purple one, but the blue one. When the blue CPD house place months ago, because I was looking at getting my sparking injury learning accredited, and I said, okay, I'm going to give you money. You're going to credit my training. What value do I get from you to assert my learners that it's worth it? And all I got was their logo goes on my site. My CPD goes on their database. It's all about badges. It's all about displaying a badge. And it's the same right now. I've contacted a number of them just now, and none of them verify the actual technical content.
No, because they're not competent.
So they can't do that. They just, as Paul says, they just make sure the logo is clear and that learning takes place.
Yeah. But they're not competent to assess it.
That's contradictory in itself, though.
Yes, it is. It's a crock of shit, to be honest with you. It's utter rubbish.
But that, unfortunately, this is the problem, because I mean, these webinars are free, but if I'm going to get it City Guilds accredited right now with the number of subjects I've delivered so far, it's hang on, what's the quote?
Mike,
£3,300 it's going to cost for me to get accredited to training I've delivered, and I want to deliver more subjects. The problem is I'm delivering a variety of subjects, but I'm currently on a price of £3,300. So now we're trying to see what else we can do.
This is how dumb it is, Mike. So I did, when the 18th edition was in draft, I ran around the country doing loads of training seminars. And it's fair to say I did some briefings which were for an entity that said, oh, they've got to be CPD accredited. And I had to send my material off to make sure there was a logo on the front and the end, and learning took place. But they weren't competent to understand what learning I was trying to instill in the people. I could have been teaching them a load of utter bull crap.
Yeah,
and they would have never have known. You know, they're not going to put someone who is electrically biased to check this electrical PowerPoint, because that person will go, oh, hang on a minute, I didn't know anything about the 18th edition because it hasn't come out yet. It was going through the draft, and I was one of the few people who actually read the whole draft, other than Dave and one or two others. So I was going around telling them this is my learning from it, and to stimulate debate, thought, try and get people to want to comment and engage. And it had to be accredited. Utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. But they make money out of it, and I think there are too many organisations like that making money out of it.
In a position to assess people's CPD, you must look into that yourself. You know, just out of your own intuition. If there's some form of CPD that you're like, oh, what's that about? Surely, you know.
I've come to an awareness that a lot of the time I'm always doing CPD. I could probably do more. But when you realise the full spectrum, that's why the T-Waves principle are there. I like the T-Waves principle because it's an easy way to remember. It's a huge spectrum. It's not just...
You're going to have to go through T-Waves now. You've mentioned it.
Why? Oh, right.
Those
okay.
People are going, what's T-Waves?
T-Waves, sorry. If you listen to the CPD podcast, so T-Waves is training, work experience of any form. It doesn't have to be work-based. It can be volunteering for the Scouts. It's personal development, social development, academic study, volunteering, events and seminars, or self-study. T-Waves. Self-study is, here we go, I've been reading, I don't know if you can see this, this is the ACO
contractor book.
Electrical Installer's Handbook, version 4, updated to the 18th edition, and also the 5839 part 6. Brilliant little book. So if I remember what I've learned in here in 6 months, and I can reflect on the different new categories, I've done CPD, reading the book. Do I need someone to accredit it? No. But all I've got to do is ring up ACO, and ACO will put me on free training anyway, which is why I think they're a great company. That's not a paid advert, by the way. It's because it's on the desk. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, CPD. Mike, just on CPD. What CPD do you think you're wanting to do for your career going forward? Do you have any intended professional development?
Yeah.
Thinking about what you want to do moving forward.
So I'm actually booked on to the 2396. It was for July. Whether it, obviously not. But hopefully that gets
it's a good one, that is
reorganised for later on in the year or whatever. I'm actually going to go through Dave's. On that one right now. I'm going to go through Dave's original YouTube series on it, and I know I think you said you got some more stuff coming out on it.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm trying to get. I've got a number of people that have asked if I can do some assistance with the project, so I'm about to start doing some heavy work on it in about a week.
Oh wow, cool!
It's the one course I'd like to resit, but I'm too scared to. because I'm too rusty.
Mate, you'll find it a doddle. What else are you going to do, Michael?
Yeah, there's that. Obviously, I'm doing everything with Instagram, and doing a lot more collaborating as well with new products and tools. So that is, in my opinion, a form of CPD. I'm currently I'm project managing, and I'm learning every day in that sense, and I've got a lot of great people around me, showing me the ropes and showing me how to do things. So I think that's, again, it's never going to be accredited, but for me, that's the thing. I think CPD, it doesn't have to be something that you can showboat almost. I know I'm progressing. Do you know what I mean? As much as you want to be able to write it down, you can't always. And I think sometimes people need to realise that it's not always, something.
A lot of people have gone to the University of Life, and that isn't CPD accredited. And I went to University of Life, that wasn't CPD accredited, and now I'm a CPD assessor.
Yeah.
Go figure that one, eh? Yeah, okay. All right, chaps. I think we've probably done enough for this one. Apologies, this probably won't fit in. Well, I'm sure you can trim it down to fit into an hour. Dave, any final thoughts, good sir?
Not really. It's nice to catch up with you, Michael, really.
Yeah, we just chewed the fat in this one.
We just chewed the fat, really.
That's good.
Obviously, we've talked a bit about COVID-19, and I just hope we kind of... I don't know. I think we're doing okay, don't you? I mean, obviously we talked about working from home and stuff.
I think it's okay. Different for where we're all working, and we're working at it. Dave, you're knocking your pipe out. I'm knocking my pipe out. It's fairly evident, Mike, you're working hard. There are a lot of people who aren't, and a lot of people who are struggling and worrying. And I think we need to be mindful that there are those people out there.
Because we didn't really talk about. We didn't really talk about the boredom part. You did mention that some dads are having time with their kids, but we didn't really talk about, maybe we need to do an update podcast on COVID and kind of talk about what we can do to fill the board or fill the time, because a lot of people, I'm seeing some very creative methods online with people, just going to take social media as a way to distract them. But I just, I look forward to our next podcast, and who knows what the news will be at the time.
Indeed. Mike, final thoughts?
I just wish the best of health to everyone. I hope we all get through this. It's been lovely chatting to you guys once again. I look forward to the next one.
Well, there you go. Gents, thank you as always. It's been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for listening. Sorry this was a bit of a long one, and more now than ever, really. These last words ring very true. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.